The psychology of people who apologize too often. Have you ever noticed how, without even realizing it, you start apologizing during a conversation with someone or just when you want to ask something? In this video, I'll explain why people often apologize without even realizing it. So watch the video from start to finish and subscribe to my channel. I really try to create useful content for you. You know that feeling when someone bumps into you and the word sorry leaves your mouth before you've even processed what happened? Or when you ask a completely reasonable question and soften it with, "Sorry, can I just?" Or when someone else is clearly at fault, and somehow you're the one apologizing to smooth it over. It happens so quickly you barely notice it. The apology isn't even always about guilt. It's more like a reflex, a small, automatic adjustment to make the room feel safer. Most people don't see what's really happening in those moments. From the outside, it can look like insecurity, or weakness, or a lack of confidence. Sometimes it's even joked about, "Why are you apologizing? You didn't do anything." But that reaction misses something important, because apologizing too much isn't really about thinking you're wrong all the time. It's about trying to keep the emotional temperature of the room stable. There's more going on here than people realize. People who apologize too much aren't necessarily confused about blame. They're often deeply attuned to tension. They sense subtle shifts in tone, micro expressions, small pauses in conversation. Their nervous system picks up on disconnection faster than most. And the apology becomes a tool. Psychology calls this a form of social regulation. Some research on attachment and conflict avoidance shows that certain people are highly motivated to preserve relational harmony, even at personal cost. Their brains are wired to prioritize connection over dominance or certainty. Neuroscience gives us another layer. The part of the brain that scans for social threat, particularly the amygdala, can become highly responsive in people who grew up in unpredictable environments, not necessarily traumatic in obvious ways, just emotionally inconsistent. Maybe love felt conditional. Maybe conflict lingered longer than it should have. Maybe tension in the house felt heavy and unresolved. When a nervous system grows up in that kind of atmosphere, it adapts. It learns that small disruptions can escalate. It learns that smoothing things over quickly is safer than waiting. It learns that staying liked is more secure than being right. So the apology becomes preemptive. It's not about guilt. It's about prevention. If you apologize too much, there's a chance your body is simply trying to avoid a relational rupture. Your system learned early on that disconnection feels dangerous. Even minor friction can activate a subtle stress response, a tightening in the chest, a quickening in the voice, a sense that something needs to be repaired immediately. And saying sorry calms that. It signals humility. It reduces perceived threat. It lowers the risk of escalation. In social neuroscience, there's evidence that apologies can rapidly decrease anger responses in others, restoring cooperation. Your brain may have internalized that strategy long ago, but here's what makes this complicated. The same reflex that protects connection can quietly reshape your sense of self. When you're constantly stepping into the position of the one who is at fault, even symbolically, it can blur internal boundaries. You start taking responsibility for emotions that aren't yours. You absorb tension that doesn't belong to you. You become the emotional shock absorber in conversations. And over time, that can feel exhausting. This pattern often has roots in early relational roles. Some children grow up becoming the mediator, the peacekeeper, the one who reads the room and adjusts. If a parent was volatile, distant, or easily overwhelmed, the child may have learned that being easy, agreeable, and apologetic reduced stress in the household. Not because they wanted to disappear, but because it worked. The nervous system is practical. It doesn't care about pride. It cares about safety. If apologizing reduced conflict, it got reinforced. If minimizing yourself kept love steady, it became automatic. And that adaptation can follow someone into adulthood, long after the original environment is gone. It's important to say this clearly. This pattern is not better or worse than the opposite. There are people whose nervous systems respond to tension with assertion. They lean into conflict. They protect their ground instinctively. That isn't more evolved. It's just different wiring shaped by different experiences. Some people regulate relationships by expanding. Others regulate by softening. Neither is inherently superior. The challenge arises when the strategy becomes so automatic that it overrides choice. When sorry slips out before you've checked whether you actually feel regret. When you apologize for having needs, for taking up time, for existing in shared space. There's also a paradox here. People who apologize too much are often the most conscientious people in the room. They think deeply about how their actions affect others. They replay conversations, not because they're self-absorbed, but because they care about impact. The irony is that this sensitivity, which is a strength, can turn inward too harshly. Studies on social anxiety and high agreeableness traits suggest that individuals who are highly empathetic also show stronger self-monitoring tendencies. They notice their own perceived missteps more than others do. The brain magnifies small social errors, even when no one else registered them. So the apology isn't weakness, it's hyper-awareness. But hyper-awareness can come with a quiet cost. When you're always the one smoothing things over, other people may never develop the muscles to tolerate discomfort. They may unconsciously rely on you to absorb friction, and you may rarely experience what it feels like to let silence hang, to let someone else step in and repair. That can create an imbalance that's hard to see from the inside. Yet none of this means something is wrong with you. It means your system learned to value harmony deeply. It means connection matters to you. It means you developed a skill reading emotional weather that many people never cultivate. The shift, when it happens, is rarely dramatic. It's subtle. It's noticing the impulse to apologize and pausing for half a second. Not suppressing it, just observing it, asking quietly, is this mine? Sometimes it will be. Real repair is powerful and healthy. Other times, you may realize the room doesn't actually need fixing. The tension isn't escalating. The other person isn't about to withdraw love. Your body is responding to an old blueprint, not the present moment. And that realization can be surprisingly calming, because it reframes the story. You're not someone who apologizes too much because you're weak. You're someone whose nervous system learned that peace was precious. If any part of this feels uncomfortably familiar, there's probably more beneath the surface, not flaws, but patterns. Quiet adaptations that once protected you and may still be shaping how you move through relationships now. And when you start seeing them clearly, something shifts, not in a dramatic, life-altering way, just enough to feel a little more solid in your own space.